usually show up.
Maybe I should wear headphones too. I have a feeling my audio is not good right now.
It's actually not the worst, but I'm sure headphones would
This
help.
might be better.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah. All right. YouTube's going. Hopefully people show up. I'm going to start recording. Welcome to episode 61 of the Podcast of Terry, production of the Galactic Network. This is a podcast about all things scary. I'm your host, Matt Stein. With me, as always, is Corey. Scott. Corey, how are you?
Yeah.
See, that's the sound that you make. For more on this podcast, including show notes, content information, subscription links, go to gncast.com/pot. You can chat with us on our Slack channel during our shows over at gncast.com/signup. Well, there you can subscribe to our newsletter as well. Podcast of Terror is very spoiler heavy. This week we're going to ruin the movie Critters, the original, 1989? 1986 Critters. I was 1 year old. And Corey wants me to tell you that I swear. So,
and you've been swearing since you were 1 year old. So
you have that to look forward to. This week we are joined by CEO and founder of Master Philly Macabre Entertainment and the producer of the upcoming Kane Hunter documentary, To Hell and Back. Derek Herbert is with us once again. Derek, how are you?
Doing very well. Thank you guys for having me.
Good. Hey, thanks for coming. I was really happy to see that you emailed and wanted to come back, and we didn't scare you off too much.
No, you didn't. I had fun the last time.
Awesome. Yeah, so before we get into it, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone what you do, where the documentary's at and all that. Basically, what have you been doing since the last time we talked to you?
Last time we talked, we finished, almost finished shooting the documentary, and now we're in post. We're deep in post. The movie should be finished sometime around mid-December, but then we're going to be submitting it to film festivals, and then at that point, hopefully get a large distributor and have a release. We've also been getting all the perks ready for anyone who did contribute. I have some with me. This is the masks for anyone who got signed masks. We have the machetes for anyone who got signed machetes.
Oh, I'm so excited. I got both of those.
And then one of my favorite was actually, because I designed it, in addition, was the shirts. I think the shirts came out very well. And you get to see Kane's kill tattoo and have it on you forever. So, yeah, we're deep in post-production. We're very excited for people to see it. It's just a matter of we want to make the best movie for the fans and for everybody. And it's about constantly evolving the movie and making it the best it can be. And we're trying to get a few more interviews in. I know since the last time I was on, we announced Harrison Smith, director of Death House, is in it. And we have a few more we're trying to get, but we have over 39 hours of interviews already that we had to go through. So we're not hurting as far as interviews. It's now about cutting down and making a movie that's a little more digestible than 3 hours and 8 minutes right now. So we're trying to get it to, 2 hours and 15 max, as long as it flows. I know there's docs like the Nightmare on Elm Street doc, Never Sleep Again, and Crystal Lake Chronicles, both that are well over 4 hours, but those movies are hard to watch in one sitting because of the length. They really are. And I want to make a documentary that people who aren't huge fans of Kane's can watch and love it. And people who are big fans love it as well. So
I also have a hard time sitting because of my length.
Yeah.
Wow. Out of left field. Corey takes the lead with dirty comments today. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I saw, it was a couple months ago, but you guys had announced that Twisted was doing the theme song.
Yes, Twisted's doing our official or Kane's official theme. I'm waiting to hear it right now, actually, where it's around the time where they're going to be getting it to us, and I'm excited to see what they came up with. The little piece that we released sounds like I think it's probably going to be one of their best songs. I think the fans are going to really love it, just because I know how much Kane means to them. So I know they've been working on this for months and months now. They really care, and they want it to be something he can always use at conventions.
Right. And this may or may not come to a shock, but I used to love Twisted and ICP like a lot. So when I heard that, it completely made sense from like a fan perspective that they would be doing the song, just because of how what Kane does and what they do kind of just tie into each other.
And they're his favorite band. And when we interviewed them for the doc, we knew instantly, like, they're some of the nicest guys, and I knew that I'd be able to ask them, and they wouldn't respond with like, maybe if you give us $1 million, it was more, man, we'd love to make it. And that's the kind of person you want writing the song, someone who's gonna take the time necessary to really make it something awesome.
Absolutely. Well, is there a tentative release date for the documentary?
We're saying late spring 2017, just because the festivals we're submitting it to, Tribeca, South by Southwest, and Cannes, are in like early 2017. So we're hoping at one of them, assuming we get in, we're able to secure distribution and convince them to release it early. Like,
awesome.
Because I want to get this movie out there for people. We've been making it since June 2015, and I'm ready to have people see it.
Awesome. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm really excited for it. I don't know if Corey is.
No, I absolutely am.
And I was going to say here.
No, as much as I am for the fact that, I mean, it's a cool subject being about Kane Hodder and everything. I'm excited because it's Derek's film. And Derek's a friend of the show.
That's a super nice perk to what Corey and I do, is that we have the pleasure of meeting you and been forming a personal relationship. So, I'm a huge supporter of anything my friends do. So even if I didn't care for the topic, I would still support the shit out of you just because you're a friend.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way. I mean, there's a lot of other ideas brewing. I was told very clearly by my producer and co-founder of the company not to say anything yet about any of our other projects, but as soon as I can, I'll come on and I'll tell you all about them.
Yeah.
So there's some really cool stuff happening.
You have the maybe coveted open invitation to come back whenever you want. It depends on who you ask. Let's go ahead and get into our news. The news ties into why Derek's here. The first story we have is the Friday the 13th game, which Kane Hodder is also, he did all the motion capture for Jason, which that's pretty fucking awesome. Like, not only have you made a Friday the 13th game, but you have used, in my opinion, the most important person who played Jason doing the motion capture. So that's really cool. And obviously you've likely talked to Kane about the game. Have you gotten any insight as to like his experience with doing this?
He's had a great time. I mean, I was actually on set for the motion capture for one of the days back when it was just multiplayer, and I saw him kill a bunch of counselors and how Jason, the ways Jason can be killed if you're lucky enough, because it is tough. They're purposely making it tough, but I saw him walk. I saw him run as Jason. He's loving being back in character. And I think the best part is, I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen the footage they've released, but from the mocap sessions, but you can see they had a screen that auto-rendered him as Part 7 Jason. So he could see himself in the monitors as the character. Like almost full res version of the movie. And he was loving it because he could tell instantly if things were working. And I know they're doing some more motion capture now that it's a single player, because he told us about that. We're thinking about interviewing. I've been trying to reach the video game people again because they were very nice to have us come on, and I'd love to get them interviewed for the little section in the doc on the video game. Since they were instrumental in bringing him back too. Them and Sean Cunningham.
So as Derek mentioned, the Friday the 13th game now includes single player. That was recently announced that they would be pushing the release to early 2017. Sounds like Marchish. But if you pre-ordered the game or did a Kickstarter, you'll be getting beta on PC with 4 extra keys, which I think is kind of cool. Then you don't have to play alone, assuming you have friends. I actually had Corey, I'm going to be getting 4 beta keys I don't need 4 beta keys. I'm thinking maybe we should give like 2 of them away on a future episode when I get them.
I think that's a very good idea.
Cool.
I see no reason why not to pay that forward to the fans.
So let it be written. So let it be done. That'll happen when I get my beta keys. But so I lost where I was now. I went on my high horse. Early 2017, we'll see the full launch of the multiplayer portion of the game. Summer 2017, we'll see the single player and AI bot feature. If you pre-ordered, kickstarted, you get the single player free. If not, the game will be, the digital price is going from $30 to $40. Physical edition will stay at $60. So yeah, you got that to look forward to. I'm excited.
Yeah. I know Kane is too. He actually got a chance the other day to play it.
I saw that.
And he told me that it is just, he's ready for this game to come out because he really wants to. And we've already talked internally, us filmmakers about we're going to be playing it with Kane for sure. One of these conventions we go to with him to promote this documentary, we're definitely going to have to hook up a bunch of PlayStations together and play it. I want him to play Jason with us.
Fair enough. So I think that might answer my question. Will you be getting it on PlayStation?
Well, I will be, yeah. I have a PS4. I don't have a PC, unfortunately, though.
Yeah, you have to email me your PlayStation ID. I pre-ordered it for PS4, but I have a PC, so I'll be able to play the beta, but the full release I got on my PlayStation. Something special about being able to sit on my couch and play as Jason and swing a camp counselor into a tree in a sleeping bag.
So my question about this is that, I mean, we're obviously seeing this is a game that was created by fans, put the extra care into it that only fans really seem to these days, and it's for fans, and it's shown great success now already without even being released. Is this something that could be a precursor to they keep trying to get the Friday the 13th franchise relaunched again? Should this be a push for them to say, okay, not only do we need to do this because there obviously is still fandom out there, but we need to do this the right way and involve the right people, because people don't want something that's just stamped as Friday the 13th that doesn't stay true to what fans loved about it, which includes people like Kane Hodder.
I'm personally hoping that is the case, given the fact that since the doc is on Kane, and I think he's proven time and time again how much he matters to fans of him playing this character, that I think the video game is definitely I'm guessing it was a test in some ways to see if they want Kane to play it, or more importantly, if they want to put a big budget into it. Because I know Jason X did not make a ton of money.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
But it was Canadian, so it was very polite when it didn't do well.
Yeah.
I love Jason X, by the way.
Same here.
I have an Uber Jason right here on my desk.
Yeah.
Kind of going into what Corey said about, is Friday the 13th the beginning of a resurgence of slasher film video games? There was a game released called Dead by Daylight, which has the same concept of Jason, where it's one supervillain versus, I think in Dead by Daylight it's 4, in Friday the 13th it'll be 7. But it's 4v1. So Dead by Daylight has gone ahead and they will be releasing on October 31st a DLC which lets you play as Michael Myers. I believe you get a map that's in the house too.
And it also involves Laurie Strode, I believe, as well.
Yeah, so we briefly spoke about this game prior to starting to record, but I really wanted to hold out till Friday the 13th because it's really the same concept. But with this, I think I might just go ahead and buy it. It's not, I don't believe it's expensive either. I'll look it up real quick on Steam. Now, I don't know if this is getting a console release at all, though.
Yeah, there are people in the comments who are saying that they're hoping it comes to PS4, but I don't think that that's anything that they've listed so far. Again, I mean, the concept is good as far as a game goes, but there's really something else about seeing those killers that you've seen up on screen that are beloved franchises and getting to play as them or against them. And I think that may be why the game hasn't been as successful. I don't know how good it is as far as gameplay, but this certainly doesn't hurt as far as getting interest in it that might not have been there before.
Yeah, so it's currently at $20. Plus, it has a free DLC, and then there's like 2 DLCs you can pay for. Now it's getting mostly positive reviews, which take that with a grain of salt because it's just the Steam rating. But I don't know, for $20, can you really go wrong? Even if the Michael Myers DLC is $5, that's $25. That's a lot worse I could do with that amount of money.
Just be able to walk around through a virtual Haddonfield seems kind of interesting to me for $20. It's not such a bad thing.
By the time we're done here, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have purchased this. So thanks, Corey.
You're welcome.
Not the first time, not the last time.
Derek, it's okay if you want to abstain from commenting on this one because you've got friends who do the other game, or
I really don't know about the game. I hadn't heard of it until today, and I do love Michael Myers. I just have never I haven't heard of it yet. I'm gonna have to check it out. I think the idea of being able to play as him and Laurie Strode is pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know about the game. Like, I just know that because the Friday the 13th game was made by fans, but then approved and merchandised by Sean S. Cunningham, that it's going to be very good, and they're putting the time into it. As this being a DLC, I'm not sure. I hope that it's good, though.
I will. I'll take the bullet for you and tell you how it is. I'm willing to play video games to tell you how it is.
He'll take that bullet.
Yeah, that's someone's got to do it, and I feel like it should be me. The next news story we have here is the Wolf Creek miniseries. Corey, I'm going to hand this off to you.
Wolf Creek. Have you not seen Wolf Creek?
Was that a movie?
Yes, it's a movie.
Oh,
it takes place.
Losing street cred.
It's 3 20-somethings who are out in essentially the outback of Australia. They break down somewhere. They meet up with this Crocodile Dundee type guy out there, and they hang out for the night. And then the next day, they realize that he's basically sort of captured them and goes into the act of killing them. It is a brutal film. There's been a sequel. I haven't watched the sequel yet, but there's one scene in particular that I remember that he calls Head on a Stick or something along those lines. And it's a harsh flick. So they've been talking about doing a TV series with, I think the original killer is in it. And it had appeared on the PoT network. It started on Friday, so I'm hoping that it's something that's available on demand.
Oh, it already started.
It already started, but yeah, so a 6-episode series. It's just started, and if it's anything like the movies, I mean, it'll be a hard but good horror watch.
Have you seen this, Derek? The movie?
I saw Wolf Creek, the movie. Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by the idea of them doing a mini series. It seems like, based on the news that's been released about it, that they're definitely not just milking the movie, especially the fact movie came out, I don't remember how long, it was a while ago.
It's
2005.
2005, yeah, it's been quite a while, so 11 years. So I think that I'm glad that they're not just trying to like milk the movie popularity. It seems like it might be pretty good. I'm excited to watch it. I think that it has the potential to be very good.
I feel like it helps that it's not on like Fox. And I haven't been able to watch the Exorcist TV show that is on Fox, but I feel like if something's gonna make it suck, it's gonna be the fact that Fox is involved, or your NBC or CBS. Just because they want to obviously make as much money as possible, they don't really care about the product. They mostly care about the money.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I think,
yeah.
I think it could be definitely very good though. I've heard The Exorcist is a very good show, by the way.
Okay, good. Yeah, I haven't had time to watch it. It's on my DVR though.
My wife Erin has watched the first couple episodes. She hasn't said anything like raving about it, but she hasn't said that it's bad either, and she's still watching it. So that's at least something. She loses interest in things pretty fast.
Yeah.
But this is being compared to a female Unforgiven. The basically an American family comes out to Northern Australia, and the character McTaylor kills them all, and the daughter is a young and athletic college student. She survives the attack, and once discharged from the hospital with nothing left to lose, she sets about bringing her assailant to justice. So it's a little bit revenge driven on top of it. It's not just the escaping from the madman. It sounds like the madman attack starts it out, and then it's trying to go back into that lion's den.
Ooh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, sounds really interesting. Yeah,
it sounds like a little Kill Billy, honestly. With the revenge aspect. I'm very excited to see if he ever does the Kill Bill 3. Taking us on a tangent, I guess, but I'm intrigued by the idea if he ever does one of those, because he said he wants to do a third one, and we're hitting about the time that he'll be doing it. Because he only has a few movies left, he said.
Right, he has movies that he's kind of promised. 10. Right, but he also said he wanted to still do the Vega Brothers one.
True. Yeah.
Which I don't know how that would work at this point.
I don't know. I don't know if he'll necessarily retire permanently. I think it's one of those. Unless he has a good idea, he just doesn't want to make a movie. He doesn't want to just be going on and on and on. He wants to kind of go out, but.
Yeah, that's good though. You don't want to just make a movie to make a movie.
I agree. I kind of would say, don't expect movies from me after 10, but I'm going to be, but who knows? He doesn't seem like the person who's going to want to sit around. Like, right. I think he's going to one day wake up and just write a movie. I mean, he wrote the entire Inglourious Basterds script in one plane ride from LA to New York. The rough draft.
Yeah.
Because he didn't even have a title. Weinstein knew he was announcing a movie. So they set up a panel for him, and then he just scribbled on like a piece of paper the title, and they scanned it in and they digitized it and they put it on the projector behind them.
Huh.
Spelled wrong and everything the way he wanted it to be. So
that's awesome. I never knew that. The things you learn.
I know way too many movie facts.
But that's good. That's you're a director, and you should know movie facts. I'm just a guy on the internet, so I don't need to know movie facts. At least correct ones.
I was going to say, you're a guy on the internet talking about movies. It might help you to know something.
Yeah, people don't come here to listen to my movie facts. Maybe they do. If they do, that sucks. But keeping with the TV show aspect of whatever the hell we're talking about, Ash vs. Evil Dead was confirmed for a third season, which is kind of insane since the third episode of the second season just aired.
Yeah, but I think that they kind of knew already.
I'll guarantee they knew.
The first season, I think they announced the second season when the first episode premiered.
Yep.
Around that. And
before.
So, yeah.
It was like a week before it premiered.
They're like, everybody seems kind of into this. Maybe we
I
should
think they
about...
just saw it. I personally I haven't started the second season yet, but I just binge watched the first one, and I don't have a ton of time right now to watch TV, and I watched all the episodes in like 2 days because that is how awesome Bruce Campbell being back as Ash is.
And it's season 2 is more of season 1. So if you liked season 1, you'll like awesome. Season 2. There's
no reason to reinvent that wheel.
No, whatsoever.
And that's the thing.
Perfect wheel for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, Bruce Campbell. He seems to have a sustaining popularity. Maybe we should capitalize on that by utilizing the character that he's most well known for and most beloved for. I mean, you can put him in anything and people are going to watch it. He's the reason why I stuck with Burn Notice as long as I did. But he's so excellent in this part, and it's so iconic, and it's funny because it's not the iconic killer part that we get from so many other things. This is the opposite. Right. This is the guy that's fighting against those things that everybody wants to win and they want to root for, but he still gets to do the quips. he's still the most charming character on the screen, and that's rare. And to see that get to continue on, I know that they're releasing the remake of Evil Dead. They're doing a unrated version, and that was actually really good, but in a completely different way.
And that's why they. It was weird. It was the guy. I just found this out yesterday. That I'm trying to remember. It was the guy who did. There was a short film online a few years ago where there was these giant monsters like going through like a town, and then you panned over and it got to like a bridge, and the monsters started destroying the city. It was like a 7-minute short, and that was Fede Alvarez, the guy who did it, and he then got Spielberg told Universal to give him a deal, and they gave him a budget. They said, you have like a $7 million budget, or 20 or 30, I forget exactly the number, but they told him a number and then gave him a choice of scripts. And he was like, actually, I have a script of The Evil Dead, like a remake to The Evil Dead. Could you show that to Sam Raimi? And obviously Universal's made a lot of money in the Evil Dead movies. They showed it to him and he loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when the remake of Evil Dead came out, we had just had Cabin in the Woods, and it's weird because that was so much based around where Evil Dead had been a springboard, and a lot of other things too. It referenced so much stuff, but then to see it kind of done again, but taken completely seriously and just going so far into the dark with it, I'm glad that it's actually been treated respectfully, because a lot of times when remakes happen, whether they're good or not, and that can be argumented, people really like this for what it was, knowing that it was something different. And it helps that it didn't take away from Bruce Campbell still having Evil Dead in the long run. I mean, at that point in time, we weren't sure. There was the final like after credit stinger of, him coming out and grabbing I don't even think you see him, but you hear him say groovy and he grabs the chainsaw. But still, to see this continue on, and so it can kind of be both things. It can diverge into both different parts now.
And they were going to do another movie fairly right before the show. And then apparently they wrote too many. They saw the script and it was like 800 pages, and they broke it up and they said, this can be a TV show now. But that was Ash vs. Evil Dead. It was the idea like we'd pick up on him, 30 years later, and he did something stupid and things are happening again and he has to stop it. And like that was the whole idea, was just one more, and just a movie. And then they Stars picked it up, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
but I'm excited to see the third season and the second season finish.
Agreed. Keeping up with the TV news, I guess it's October, so this makes sense. But Sci-Fi is renewing Van Helsing for a second season. I never watched it. I don't know if either of you have. I didn't even
know it was a show.
Yeah, see,
it's new. They had just done a show called Winona Earp that is similar. Sci-Fi is doing a lot of shows that seem like they're Joss Whedon light, and Van Helsing is, of course, a basically a descendant of Van Helsing, that now it's a girl, and she's fighting evil creatures and stuff, and it looks perfectly fine. It looks well suited towards Sci-Fi's demographic, but every time I've tried their shows, very few are things that have been stuff that I can stick around with for too long. I want to. The closest I think I've gotten is probably Eureka, but that was a totally very different.
Sci-Fi that did a show about did Sci-Fi do Tin Man?
Yes.
I like Tin Man. I thought Tin Man, that's probably the only show that I've watched the whole thing that was on Sci-Fi, because that cast was very good. But I agree, yeah. This Van Helsing does, based on this article here, it looks like it could be a decent show. It looks nice. The footage looks really beautiful.
Yeah, and I don't want to disparage it. I haven't watched Van Helsing yet. I was only in a couple episodes to Winona Earp, and it was good, and I think that there was something it was building towards, but it felt so familiar to other shows that I've already watched that were honestly better shows. But Buffy wasn't just blow your mind out amazing in the first season. It took it a while to find its footing. So I think with any of these, that's got to happen too. And it's a question of if they're going to have the time to do it. It's nice that Sci-Fi's renewed this so that it's only a few episodes in at the moment. I think it's only 5 episodes in of this season. It's nice that they can at least have the confidence that when the season ends, they've got something that they can pick up on next season to continue it. So that changes how you write the story.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to necessarily end it right now.
Yeah.
And they're probably still editing season 1, so they can potentially do some reshoots to do a cliffhanger if they thought it was just going to get 1 season.
That's a valid point. I never really thought about how that works. I just assume that they always plan for multiple seasons.
It really depends on the show. I mean, it depends on if you've been canceled before. I know with Arrested Development, they joked in season 3, like it was like, I don't know if either of you watched that show, but all of season 3 was, they like kept joking with gimmicks and bringing characters back and 3D scenes and somebody's going to die and a scene that's live, because they knew that it was the last season, but they were hoping if they got so over the top with it, that
we're the show that nobody watches, but we keep winning Emmys.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm very excited to see what they do with the 5th season of that. Because the 4th one, I enjoyed. A lot of people did not. But I thought it was still fun. It wasn't quite as good as 1 through 3, but I found it funny. And the idea that I heard that they're thinking of doing for the 4th, where it's more like a court show, like to find a murderer, or to make a murderer.
Oh, making a murderer? Yeah.
About Buster Bluth murdering Lucille too. Because that was they read a line at something I watched online, like Lucille, like the woman who plays her, said it, like Jessica Walters said, it was only after they found Buster Bluth's handprints at the scene of the crime of Lucille 2's murder that they knew they were that this something had been, that had been blown way out of proportion or something. I don't know. I just think it could be very funny to do like a Making a Murderer documentary style Arrested Development.
Yeah, I mean, that's a show that wasn't afraid to reinvent itself or reinvent what the storyline was each season.
No, not at all.
But it's those characters that you keep tuning in for.
Exactly.
Very true. Let's see. Who else got renewed? Scream is coming back for season 3. Corey, you watch this, don't you?
No, I've never seen it. I think I watched the preview that was online for the premiere, and I just wasn't sure. Now, Scream is one of those movies. The number 1 was really good. 2 was pretty good. 3 was, oh, what happened? And then 4 was, fuck you for even making this. And so I wasn't sure that watching it on MTV was going to be something I was going to do. But part of the reason why I wasn't interested was because, well, it's on MTV, so how good is it going to be?
Right.
As I understand it, the first season was okay, but the second season has gotten quite a bit better. And part of this is that we've got a Halloween 2-hour special that's coming out this year, and then we'll have a sort of abbreviated 3rd season next year.
Have you seen this, Derek?
I saw season 1, most of season 1, and I really liked it. I mean, I didn't think it was amazing, the first few episodes especially, but it found its groove eventually. And it definitely, it was one of those things I said I was not going to watch it because I didn't want to watch a show that didn't have the mask.
Yeah. And
it doesn't have the Scream mask. But they pretty much right away on the show make reference of that. And then it kind of does its own thing. And it felt very similar to the movies. Like you could tell that whoever was writing it was a huge fan of Kevin Williamson's and Wes Craven's. And there's a lot of, like, one of the lead characters is constantly talking like he's an expert on movies and video games and like reality shows, and he's always kind of telling all the characters, like he's almost like the narrator in a lot of ways. Like there was always one character in the movies like that. And they even have that on the show. And I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, but I have not seen season 2 yet. I do have to watch it though.
Yeah, and it's now in my queue on Netflix. It's something that I'm like, okay, maybe maybe I can put this into play and see how it works out.
See, I was never the hugest fan of the movies, so the TV show didn't really excite me at all, which is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, but now at least you can just watch it and think, well, I hate fucking teenagers, so it'll be nice to watch them all get murdered.
That's true. The last time I saw this, I was a teenager, so murder wasn't quite on the top of my list of things to do. Not saying it is now. That sounded bad.
It sort of is.
That's going to do it for news for the week. Let's go ahead and get into 1986's Critters, which was Corey's pick. I don't know what I just watched.
I just want to apologize to Derek because this was chosen. Usually we have the guests choose the film that we're going to watch when they're on. And this was something that we were already like in the midst of doing this. And we were excited when you said you wanted to be on. And we just weren't sure if we needed to move stuff around or what.
Derek is 2 for 2 on hopping onto shows and being forced to watch a movie.
Yeah, this one, I like this one a lot, though. I did like Critters. I mean, it was very weird, but I liked it for a lot of reasons. One, it's obviously New Line for years was the king of horror films. Like they call themselves the house that Freddy built for a reason. Like, without those films and films like Critters and stuff, it would never have been able to do Lord of the Rings or the Hobbit movies or anything like it's been doing. And obviously we know it's a different company now than it was back when they did Critters, but still, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was, I love the 80s and like 90s kind of and 70s kind of horror, especially like I just saw Chopping Mall. That used to be called Killbots. Yeah, I got the I met the people who directed and wrote it and did the effects and music and bought the Blu-ray, $40 Blu-ray for this movie. And it wasn't amazing, but it was a lot of fun. I definitely have to say, just like this, I thought this one was a lot of fun. It had some great, like the monsters I thought were pretty cool looking.
Mm-hmm.
Designed by the Chiodo brothers, the guys who did the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, and this movie has a lot of pedigree. I mean, even if you just the writers, one of them did, and this is gonna probably kill Matt. He did the Ginger Dead Man, and he also did another series of films called Evil Bong, and then the crossover between Ginger Dead Man and Evil Bong. But a lot of things like some Puppet Master stuff. Some of the I can't think of the name. We watched that movie recently with the killer dolls. Blood Dolls, I think it was.
That was.
What's that?
Was it Demonic Toys that you watched?
It's from the same company. Demonic Toys, Puppet Master, and Blood Dolls are all from the same company.
Blood Dolls is what we watched.
And this Ginger Dead Man is from them as well. Evil Bong is, I think, from them. So this guy did a lot of like the C horror, the D horror, but then the other writer did things like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Disney's Three Musketeers and the live action 101 Dalmatians. Like this guy went on to do the Mighty Ducks. Like that's kind of crazy that he started out his first movie was Critters as the director, and then he went on to do all these really well-known things from the 80s. And now he's doing, well, he did an episode of Rush Hour for TV. That's too bad.
No, I mean, I liked it because, I mean, it had a great cast in a lot of the scenes. You know, Billy Zane was in it.
Yeah, Billy Zane is the boyfriend with the ponytail. It was just like so weird and random. Like, Billy Zane's in this? Holy shit.
What was funny about it, I watched this with a bunch of my roommates, and it was kind of uncomfortable. Billy Zane was like the weirdest boyfriend in an 80s movie I've ever seen. Like, she was pressuring him the entire time to have sex.
He was not.
He was like, laid. Not at all. He was like, no, but your dad's going bowling. We should go and support him. The barn. Not sure I want to do it in a barn. Like, if your dad comes, he's gonna skin my hide. Everything was like, no, and then you know.
I kind of appreciated that just because of the fact that it's the opposite. And she's like, oh, if you want your keys back, you better come up to the barn with me. And just like all these things that you would normally see the guy do to the girl in these movies and pressure them into the sex. And then the usually they'll both die. But it's always like, the girl didn't even want to be there. Why the fuck is this happening? Why is Kane Hodder stabbing her in the face? But in this, he is like, no, I don't know if I should. Well, all right, maybe a little bit. And then he dies. He dies first, or not first, but pretty close to it. And
that's what he gets.
Can we just establish that at the end of the movie, we'll jump back after this, but at the end of the movie, when they're bummed their house has gotten destroyed and their house gets put back together and they're all happy, they're all standing in front of the barn where Billy Zane's corpse still is inside and no one's even looking at it. Like no one even thinks, oh yeah, by the way, guy who's died in there, he's gonna stink soon. Should we do anything about that, or just
no? The daughter, her boyfriend's dead. She's hugging them, being like, "Oh great, we have our house back."
Yeah.
Not upset in any way, shape, or form that her boyfriend's dead in the corner, or that there's a friggin' no one's like walking around checking. Oh, is the chicken coop okay?
Thank God the cat's alive in the mailbox. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Dee Wallace was in it too. She's an icon in these movies.
Oh, she's an icon in everything. I mean, and we talked about this a little bit when we did Gremlins recently, but there were a lot of references to Spielberg movies in Gremlins. And this is, of course, obviously kind of a different take on Gremlins, but not too dissimilar. And there's a point where they're like one of the critters is talking to a stuffed ET doll, and like it's pissed off that the ET doll isn't talking back to him, and it starts eating its face. And wasn't Dee Wallace from ET? Am I remembering that right? Was she the mom in that, or was it Terry Garr?
No, she was the mom in it. It's Dee Wallace.
She was the mom. And she was in Cujo and The Howling, and we watched her recently in Frighteners. Like she was really the mom in a lot of things in the 80s. But it was great to see her in this.
Yeah, it was. She always brings a reality to them, honestly. She is, I don't know. I've always loved her in movies, and I think that she's also in the new one of Kane Hodder's new films, Death House, with him.
Yeah, I mean she's an iconic horror actress. Not just specifically horror films, but I mean when you think of not necessarily even Scream Queens so much, but just in general actresses that you see recurring, like if I was going to name a list of actresses, she's in that list. She belongs there.
Yeah, it's her, and funnily enough, Lin Shaye, who is also in this movie, is another one that appears in so many different horror films, and honestly, for a reason. She's phenomenal as well. The Insidious movies are just her latest chance to show how much talent she has, but she's been around forever. You know, her brother was the founder of New Line Cinema.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That probably explains why she's in this.
She was in a couple of the Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Yep. Yeah, she was in One and New Nightmare.
Yep.
The two Wes Craven ones.
Which makes perfect sense. Yeah, I was really excited. Some of the people of this. The guy who played Neelix on Star Trek Voyager was in here as there were a lot of great character actors that showed up in this that you just see in so many things, and so you instantly recognize them, and it made the film seem less campy because of all these great actors. Like not named actors, not people that you go, oh yeah, this person, or like Tom Cruise or whoever, but still you recognize them and you feel kind of comfortable with them being there because they know what they're doing. They're so well established and they're old hat at this. Emmett Walsh as the sheriff of the town, like there's a real pedigree to it. And even Scott Grimes, who was young at the time, has grown up and went on to be on ER for a number of seasons and plays Steve Smith on American Dad.
Yeah, I saw that when I saw that when I looked into it. I was like, he looks familiar, and then he looks like someone I know when I was watching the movie. And then I realized Steve Smith, I mean, even him today, he looks exactly the same, and it's just him animated. It's literally just him as a little kid animated. And that's Steve. They look very similar. which is very entertaining. And M. Emmett Walsh, yeah, he was one of the crankiest sheriffs I've ever seen, though. I mean, he didn't give a crap about the town in a lot of ways. It seemed like he was just sort of going on, like, all right, fine, I'm going to go down to the bar, and then I'll go see if these people are alive. It's like he just kind of went through, like, didn't believe anybody. Like, you tell him to get his mind out of the gutter. And it was like everything was just big and over the top with him. But it's good. I mean, it brought sort of a realism to these 80s movies. Because obviously the law enforcement, the first thing they're going to do is not going to believe the drunk that there's a problem, that there's Martians. Okay, Charlie, go and get some more alcohol or stop drinking.
And the dad was in one of the Friday the 13th. He was in the Jason Goes to Hell as the sheriff. So I mean, there's so many, just like when you add up the cast and you just kind of travel down as to where they've all been, what they've all done. It's an amazingly high quality cast to do this film. The guy who plays the singer, that's probably one of my critical points of this movie, is that they have the two bounty hunters, the space bounty hunters, and one of them, Ugg, when they decide what they're going to look like to look human, picks this singer Johnny Steele, and they show Johnny Steele's music video and play that song by Johnny Steele like 3 or 4 different times in the movie. And it's like at a certain point in time, you want to club Johnny Steele. You want to John Lennon him, basically. You just want to go outside of his hotel and like, I'm going to kill that guy. But at the same time, like, he is a very well-known character actor and like musical theater guy. But recently he's been in Sense8, that series on Netflix, which is one of my favorite series from the last couple of years. But he was in a chorus line. Like, there's pedigree to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just very entertaining that he was on. I just love that. First of all, I thought it was a real band at first. I was like, oh, God. Because I saw a short film, or I saw a feature film lately that is like, still in production, or not production, but it's still in post. And one of the scenes, all of a sudden, they did like a music video in the middle of the movie. And I was like, did this band pay you to? And that was the case. I thought that was the case, and that they're like, product placement. This band's going to perform. We can show half their music video. They did a fake music video for a fake band just to get that point across. And everyone loves him. But no one reacts when they see him and they know who he is, even though everybody's watching it. Dee Wallace is watching it at one point. When she sees him, she doesn't react like, oh, Johnny, whatever, even though she's watching the movie.
It's just like MTV's on in the background.
Over him. Like, she's actually like watching it very intently. So much so, we thought she was going to blow off the guy's bowling tournament. Like, that's all he talks about. But everyone else is doing something else. Like, I thought his family was just abandoning him. Oh, bowling? No, we're not going to go. Nah. You go defend your championships with the Bowl Busters, or whatever the name was of his league, that with the shirts that look like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I mean, even from the beginning of this, where we're dealing with aliens and the spaceships and everything, and the prison planet and the Kreitz escape, like, even that stuff looks pretty solid. Like, there was not a poor production in this movie when they're showing they have different alien creatures. The whole scene of Ugg's face changing to the Johnny Steele persona looks pretty good. I mean, it's that reverse melt-away face. So it shows the skull and then stuff forming over it. The effects on this were good. And then the creatures themselves, that's kind of what it all hinges on. Everything about that, I thought, they're obviously puppets, but they're well-done puppets. In some ways, I like them better than I like how the Gremlins were used in at least the first Gremlins movie. It seemed like they looked a little bit more consistent. Like, there were scenes in Gremlins where you could tell they were animatronic, and then other scenes where it's just like a bunch of gremlins on sticks going down the street. It's kind of like in the South Park movie when they say that, it's something about, they make a joke about cheap animation, and they just show them kind of like bouncing around on the paper.
I agree.
I was super confused the majority of this movie. So I don't understand why Corey was so hell bent on watching this for so long. I didn't think it was bad though. I got to get that across. I didn't think it was a bad movie. It was just I didn't know what I was expecting, and I think I expected it to be kind of a Gremlins ripoff. And there was, I hate to say it, but there was like more story to it than that. You know, there was intergalactic bounty hunters, and yeah, my probably my favorite scene in the entire movie is when the girl calls from the bowling alley because they shot up the place, and they're like, "Oh, did you get a description?" And she's like, "Oh, it's this guy and that guy." And they shot up the bar at the bowling alley. It just didn't seem to get it, and everyone's just staring at her.
And one of the people who shot up the bowling alley is the Reverend that the sheriff is standing right next to when she's saying it.
Right. It's like perfectly over the top.
It is, but it makes sense. If Gremlins had, like, when the Gremlins start going crazy and everything, if the old Chinese guy who had sold a gremlin to the dad had sent a bunch of assassins in to go after the Gremlins to clear them out of the town, that's essentially what Critters is.
Yeah.
It's facing the, okay, this should never have happened. We have to send someone who's responsible to clean this up because it's only going to get worse from here. And that's the difference. And then the Gremlins being self-replicating, it just gets bigger and bigger, whereas this stays, for the most part, limited to this one house and this one group of people. But I was surprised not only how much I remembered of this movie, but how much I thought I remembered of this movie, but actually from the sequel. Like, there were parts that I kept waiting to happen, and it didn't happen in this. I'm like, oh no, that's Critters 2. And so now I kind of feel like I need to watch that just to get the rest of that story. And then I don't remember ever seeing Critters 3 and maybe just parts of Critters 4 when I was growing up, but they all connect. It's one of those things where it does continue on and it stays. At least some of the characters are consistent between them. And that's kind of what's cool about it, is that it's not something that just like, oh, we're going to take this concept, but we're going to put it in another town, or we're going to put this in a whole other environment, and like Critters in the outback and Critters in, Lake Kawanda or something.
And that's kind of what I expected. And I haven't watched 2, 3, or 4, but just looking at the movie poster, and the fourth one is like a critter on a planet. So I was like, oh, I assume the critters just get to space somehow. Having now watched the first one, it makes way more sense because they came from space. They weren't like formed on Earth and made it to space. This is just probably them going back to where they came from.
Yeah, it appears like Critters 1 and 2 take place in Grover's Bend, the town from the first one. 3 is in LA, and then 4 is in a space station. So yeah,
nice.
3, but it seems like it's contained at least. Grover's Bend doesn't seem like that big of a town for them to get loose in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. What else happened in this movie, Corey? This is your pick.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that happens. One of the things that is that the family themselves get beat to shit, but maintain and maintain by sticking together. I think that's part of it, is the fact that the dad and the mom take control, and they're like, at one point they have to send the son out to get help because neither of them are in the shape to do it. The mom's taking a dart to the neck, and the dad's pretty fucked up too, and he has to protect the mom and the daughter besides that. So they send the son Brad out, and he's the fastest. He's got a good head on his shoulders and everything about it. But they do manage to, like, okay, these things are attacking us. We're not going to play stupid. We're gonna barricade ourselves in here. We're gonna use our guns. We're gonna gather up weapons. Like, everybody powers through in a way that a farming family you would expect would. Like, there's the things that play the characters just stupid just to have them all get killed. And this doesn't really do that. There are certainly characters that, like the deputy, that come through and aren't paying enough attention. But the first time you see something like this, you're not going to know what's coming. But everybody who, once they realize what's going on, they act accordingly. And so there wasn't the wanton amount of death that I would expect from this kind of movie, especially in the 80s, where it's just like, let's just hack everybody through. But it feels a little bit more realistic because of that, with the fantastical elements in there.
Almost makes it like the proper amount of scary.
Proper amount of scary, and the ridiculous factor is meant more in play with the alien bounty hunters. Like them going into different places. We want the Krites, and then just shooting shit up.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say more, so I was ill prepared to have a statement.
They were not very effective bounty hunters, though. They just were mostly shooting.
And that's what they're kind of we're told that at the beginning, when they're saying we'd like to see less destruction this time. And it's great because they're just like, flick off the radio, like, no, fuck you, we're gonna do it how we do it. but then even there, like, they take some pity on Brad and his family by saying, you know, hey kid, you're cool, it's too bad that all this happened, but give me a call sometime. And one, which lays out how a sequel could happen, but two, it's like, we're gonna fix your house for you, we're gonna make this right by you guys. Again, ignoring the fact that there's a dead dude in your barn. Fuck that, you know, unless some coffin formed around him when the thing went off. But other than that, yeah, like, your house is all better. We didn't give you the extra bathroom you wanted. Sorry, you know, just maybe next time.
I got nothing else. It was just a really cut and dry movie. It did what it needed it to do, which was portray a extraterrestrial furball murder machine. You know, I wish that the bounty hunters would have done a little more. I don't know. I did like the scene where the two critters are on the porch and they're like, oh, they got weapons. And they're like, yeah, so what? And she comes up, she shoots one, and the one just goes, fuck, and runs away. Like, I thought that was kind of funny because it not only shows that they can be defeated, but it also is like, I don't know, I just thought it was funny.
It gave them a little bit more personality, and it shows the mom, she blows two of them away because she gets one in the upstairs too. Mm-hmm. Like, the mom is not helpless. Again, what I like about this is the family is a strong family. They don't just portray them as dumb. You compare this to movies like Slither. Like, there's a lot of other films that fit this category, like The Small Town and The Creatures Come Loose. And a lot of those movies, honestly, are my favorite kinds of films. The weird creatures that are just like wreaking havoc on everything. But this is not played as much for those kind of laughs, which is weird because the critters themselves are funny. The concept itself is funny. I think it builds on it more in the sequel. If you want to know more about the bounty hunters, there's definitely more use of them and Charlie in the sequel. So that would be a reason to go and look at that too. I always just kind of considered them one big movie.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check out the other ones then.
Yeah, having watched the first one, I definitely want to watch the other three. And I've been sitting on all four of these for 6-8 months, Corey. Whenever the hell you decided that we should watch these. So I've had
really
them all
early in the podcast. Yeah, it's probably
these have been in my possession for a very long time. And now that I've actually seen the first one, I do kind of want to watch the other three.
Remember, you get to look forward to seeing a very young Leonardo DiCaprio in one of the later Critter sequels. I believe 3.
I don't know. You can't top Billy Zane. Or can you?
It was just so funny. I'm like, fucking Billy Zane, rock on. Like, he should have brought them with him for Demon Night. That would have been much better.
Did you know that this is Billy Zane's second movie?
I did not.
I will give you one guess as to what his first one is, and I know you won't get it.
I will not.
Back to the Future 1.
Really? Was he one of the friends of
Biff?
Biff?
Yeah, his name was Matt.
No, that makes total sense.
Yep.
Yeah, because I remember him in Back to the Future 2 a lot more than 1, but I sort of remember him in 1. I wonder if he's coming back to Twin Peaks.
I mean, where we left off with his character is, I mean, maybe if they're bringing Audrey back, then they.
I still need to finish that show, so don't ruin it.
Yeah,
I'm way behind the curve.
It's an amazing show. I really liked it.
It really is good.
I can't wait for the new season.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I mean, I watched Twin Peaks again when it was on TV, when it was actually airing, and then went to see the movie in the theater when it came out. I read the books over the summer between the 2 seasons, The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer and the FBI Files of Agent Cooper. I've made an MP3 file of the Dale Cooper tapes because they released those. Like I know that there are people more hardcore Twin Peaks than I am, but I'm up there, and
nerd.
I'm pretty nerdy on this stuff. I have potential fan fiction waiting to go with Dale Cooper somewhere down the line.
I think they're gonna do it right, because the fact of the matter is David Lynch doesn't need the money. So he's only doing it because I think he knows that he has some more stories to tell. And the fact that he was ready to walk on the project he created because they didn't want to give him enough money shows that, he really wants to do it right.
Yeah.
And the budgets are huge, but if you look at the cast, you have everyone from the original show pretty much, plus like Amanda Siegfried and like 18 other new people that are A-listers in it. So to get all those people to do the show, and without ruining anything for Matt, like all I'll say is that most shows utilize a lot of the people. And although you can shoot out of order, obviously, and just edit that way, it's still they're needed on set quite a bit. If they're a major character, which seems like they are, they're going to be needed a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm 5 or 6 episodes in, and I'm enjoying it. The thing that sucks is that I don't find myself like wanting to go and watch more. Like, let me rephrase that. I want to finish it, but it's not like some shows where it's like, I have an hour for free, I'm going to watch this just to keep progressing the story.
It for me was a show that I needed like 2 or 3 hours free to watch, just because I always felt like I needed to watch an episode and then have an hour or a half hour at least free after to watch like an episode of American Dad or Family Guy, because it's a very depressing show, especially if you get on to season 2. It gets darker and darker and darker the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it never gets. You're at the happy point right now. Like it just keeps going down from there. Not like down in quality. It's certainly good, but it just keeps going down, and
it's sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I like dark. I like dark.
I am
stuff.
too. I just occasionally, like after I watched it, was like, "Do you want to watch another episode?" A lot of times I'd be like, "No, I'll watch another one tomorrow, but let's do something in between."
I need some raspberry sorbet to cleanse the palate.
Do you want to rate this, or do you have something else? Anything else, Corey?
Yeah, I can't think of
kind of pushing it all on you.
Like I one of the things is that it does do exactly what it needs to, which started to become more of a prominent thing around this time, is it sets it up for the sequel. It telegraphs that pretty well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in this case, I didn't hate that they did it. I didn't hate how they did it. They laid the groundwork in the movie to do it. So it wasn't like a jump scare at the end. It's like, oh, the killer's still alive. It was nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a solid plan all in all. But yeah, I knew that I could have rose-colored glasses when it came to this movie because I loved it so much when I was a kid, that I was going to watch it and like, oh, well, it's probably going to suck. And I just like, I'm remembering it one way when it's really not that good. It's a really good movie.
I liked it. I definitely think it was very good.
I wouldn't go as far to say really good, but I enjoyed it.
Well, then let's give it a rank.
Oh, no, absolutely. I think we changed it since the last time Derek was here. Either way, I will re-explain it. We do 3 categories now: rewatchability, story, scariness on a 0 to 5. We'll go one at a time. Starting with rewatchability 0 to 5. Derek, since you're our esteemed guest, you get to go first.
Rewatchability, I would say it probably has I would say 5 rewatchability. I'd watch it again.
Fair enough. I can agree with you there. Corey?
Yeah, it's a 5 for me. I bought the 4 movies on DVD a little while ago, and it's a pain in the ass to get up and put a DVD in because fucking society. But I'm glad I have it, because the idea that I can at any point in time watch all 4 Critters films is important to me.
It's very true. Next up, we had story 0 to 5. Derek?
Can you do half points or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll say 4.5 on that. I liked the story. I thought it was a bit weird at times, but I thought it was original. I think, especially for 1986, they didn't take the cheap way out and do a direct Gremlins ripoff. It really held its own. So I'd say 4.5 for me.
All right. Corey?
I will say 4, and the only reason why I'm not giving the extra half point is because of how much I associated with it that's actually from the second film, which is not necessarily a fault of the first movie, but when you watch the 2 together, it feels more complete.
Fair enough. I guess that means that I need to watch the second one sooner rather than later. I'm just going to say 3.5. I thought it was fun. I thought it was an interesting new story, even it being 30 years old. It didn't feel like some of the older movies that we watch where they just kind of drag on. So yeah, 3.5. Scariness 0 to 5. Derek? You can admit that you were scared, and we're not going to think less of you.
No, there's a few movies that do scare me. The Conjuring, for instance, gets me every time. I've seen that movie a million times now, and I can watch it at home or in the theater. It's definitely a 5. But this one, I would say probably a 3. While there were some moments that did scare me a little bit, like when the dad's in the basement, for instance, and he's reaching for something. That definitely scared the hell out of me the first time you saw a critter. But other than that, I think it was mostly sort of more of the comedic horror kind of thing where there were some moments, but it wasn't all the way. So I'd say 3.
Fair enough. Corey?
Anything where something's going to come out of the toilet gives me the willies. I'm always afraid something's going to bite my dangle. And so there is a scene in this. There's a scene in Ghoulies. Anything with a shark, it makes me think of something swimming in my toilet. So I will give it a solid 3 as well because of things like that. Also, I don't like seeing digits bitten off. That freaks me out too.
Weird.
But they are silly. They're not super scary creatures. But having something just kind of gnaw into you is off-putting.
Fair enough. I'm going to go 2. It was very comedic and cartoony to me, but there was still some sort of element of horror with the jump scares and just the critters themselves looking terribly, terribly scary. That's all I got. That's it. I don't know. It didn't get me the way that it got you guys, but I'm glad it got you guys because it's hard to do. I assume, Derek, you're much like Corey and I, where you watch so many horror movies that it's got to be something special for it to kind of scare you in any fashion.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't get scared very often on movies anymore. But for me, live things scare me a lot more than movies. Like these. I've went to Not Scary Farm and Universal Halloween Horror Nights out here, and those can scare me. Like haunted houses, if it's done well, can scare. But yeah, movies, it takes a lot. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of jump scares, and I think this movie didn't fully rely on that. They built tension. Like you knew that something was coming after the dad or the person, but you hadn't seen it yet. So the fact of the matter is, they designed a really creepy looking monster. Now they're funny. We explained it earlier how they were playing with an ET doll and getting trying to talk to it, and they're talking languages, and for some reason they are swearing in English, talking their language, but subtitles oh shit, let's go. Things like that. So it's very funny, but it takes a lot to scare me. But this one had a couple moments, but it was mostly just just good fun. I liked it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for that. So you can contact us by leaving us a voicemail at 805-328-3966. You can email us at pot@gncasts.com, or you can leave us a message on our website. We'd like to hear from you. Tell us what your favorite part is, your least favorite part, what you want us to talk about, what you don't want us to talk about. And just tell us what we can do to make this better for you. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Podcast of Terror. You can also subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, any of your favorite podcatchers, and you can leave us feedback on whichever one you like. All of the subscription links and options can be found at gncast.com/subscribe. And lastly, you can join us on our Facebook page under Galactic Network. Derek, once again, thank you for coming. Where can people find everything you do?
Well, on Facebook, if they search for Masterfully Macabre Entertainment, we're under there. I think it's Facebook. Let me pull it up right now. It's facebook.com/Masterfully Macabre. We're also on Twitter at Masterfully M and on Instagram at Masterfully Macabre. You can go to our website, masterfullymacabre.com, or Masterfully Macabre Entertainment, or Masterfully Macabre. You can go to KaneHodderMovie.com, which right now links to the Indiegogo we did, but soon will be a nice, well-designed website for that film. And I'm very excited for people to see that. And if you follow us, we do a lot of live broadcasts now, like every other week, on our Facebook page to show people new things. We'll be showing 10-second clips soon, and really trying to get people excited for the movie, because I think it's going to be something that, whether you're a documentary lover, a lover of human interest stories, or a fan of Kane or horror in general, you're going to love the film.
Awesome. As mentioned 13 times earlier, I'm excited for it. So we'll have you come back when it's a little closer to the release. Corey, do you want people to find you on the internet or not?
Best thing to do is to find, not me myself personally, but find the comics that I help publish and write the blogs for and put out 2 or 3 a week, and that is at don'taskcomics.com.
Awesome. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matt the Lifeguard. That's going to do it. Derek, once again, thank you very much for coming. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the Podcast of Terror. We'll talk to you guys next time.